Hello there, beautiful people. Today I have a different kind of video coming at you here. We are just going to be live swatching the brand new LoveLuxe Beauty Pretty Powerful palette. This palette retails for $50 on the LoveLuxe Beauty website, and it is absolutely stunning. So I wanted to show you guys some close-ups of all the shadows and some in-depth swatches, as well as brush swatches. So if you are ready to get this swatch party started, then go ahead and keep on watching. So the first shade in the palette is called Control, and this is described as a metallic rose. Now, to me, this isn't really a rose, it's more so of a metallic taupe that has a slight rosy undertone. As you can see in the swatch there, the pink comes out a little bit more, but by no means, in my opinion, is this a rose. But nonetheless, it is a beautiful eyeshadow. Their metallics are super creamy and buttery. They almost remind me of the Give Me Glow Cosmetics eyeshadow formula, so if you're familiar with their metallics, the LoveLuxe Beauty formula is very similar as well. And as you can see here, the brush swatch and the actual finger swatch look almost identical. These metallics are just so gorgeous. They go on the eyes so beautifully, and they are super, super foiled. Now, moving on to the second shade in the palette, this beauty right here is called Crave. This is a gorgeous metallic green blue. These metallics don't have any glitter in them. There are some shadows in this palette that do have glitter, and we'll get to those in a little bit, but just as far as their basic standard metallic foiled shadows go, they don't have any glitter, which is kind of cool for some of you out there who don't like glitter, I suppose. I could always use a little bit of glitter, but hey, that's just my opinion. But as you can see here, Crave is a beautiful sea foamy teal green that has a gorgeous metallic sheen. So the third shadow in this palette is probably my second favorite in the entire palette, and I don't think that really comes as a surprise here, but this is the shade Prestige. This is the most gorgeous violet pink with purple opalescence reflex in it. And if you're not already aware, this palette does contain two different shadows that have their opalescence reflex in them, which is basically like a chunky, foiled, metallic, sparkly type of formula. This is basically a metallic base that has the opalescence chunky sparkles kind of mixed in, if you will. These shadows are definitely a little bit glittery, but not in a super chunky way because they are mixed with the metallic foiled eyeshadow base. And as you can see in this swatch here, they do go on a little bit more sheer with a brush. I would definitely recommend using a finger with these, but you can definitely build them up to get that opacity. Now, this next guy right here is called Uproar. This is a bright yellow orange. If you're wondering why I'm not actually showing the pan, it's because I depotted all of these to show close-ups, but I did not want to risk it for the biscuit when it comes to depotting the mattes. And as you can see here, these mattes are so freaking smooth and blendable. They are really, really pigmented as well. They just perform really beautifully, and I'm really impressed with their formulas, to be honest. Also, ignore my nasty ass fake tan. I am just a hot mess when it comes to putting on fake tan. So this next beautiful eyeshadow right here is called Dare, and this is a metallic cool toned pink. This is just one of their standard foiled eyeshadow formulas. As you can see here, it does lean a little bit more purple, but my camera was kind of washing it out a little bit. But you are gonna see in the swatches here, oh my freaking god, look at that swatch. Look at that swatch. Look at that pigmentation and how smooth that eyeshadow is and how smooth it applies. It is one of my absolute favorite colors in the entire world to wear, and it just goes onto the eyes so smoothly and beautifully. And as you can see here with the brush, it applies pretty decently. And the last shadow on the top row is called Superior, which is described as a cool wine, and obviously this is a matte. I don't really find this to be super purpley. If it is a wine color, it has just a touch of purple. It's more so just like a brown to me. But as you can see here, look at that application. Look at the application of this freaking eyeshadow. It is a purpley toned brown that has basically no patchiness and goes on extremely smooth. Pretty gosh darn impressive, if you ask me. Now, hopping on down to the bottom row, the first shade is called Trance, and this is described as a warm iridescent pink. Now, I definitely would call this a satin eyeshadow formula, but it leans much more matte than it does shimmery, which I'm not really the biggest fan of, but I think the color is beautiful. The camera definitely washes it out, but it's like a super, super pale hot pink mixed with like a white base, if that makes any sense. I wish that my camera wasn't washing it out so much, but definitely has more of like a fluorescent pink undertone, even though the shadow does look more white on the eyes, and trust me, it is much more washed out than just your basic standard everyday iridescent pink eyeshadow. The second shade in the bottom row is called Legendary, and this is a dusty peach matte. I do find this particular shade to be slightly more sheer. You definitely need to build it up a little bit more on the eyes. I don't really know why that is, maybe because it's a little bit lighter, but it's definitely a good shadow. It's just not quite as pigmented as the rest. Now, speaking of pigment, this is the shade Rare, which is obviously one of my favorites. This is a neon pink matte, and yeah, pigment. Hello, that is pigment right there. Look at that beautiful neon baby pink eyeshadow. The performance of this eyeshadow is shocking in the most amazing way possible. It is extremely pigmented on the eyes. If you are not into super pink makeup, then I suggest treading very lightly with the shadow. So now we have reached my most favorite eyeshadow in this entire freaking palette. This is the shade Force, and this is described as a warm pink with pink opalescence reflex. So obviously this is one of the shadows that has the opalescence reflex in it. It's gonna have a little bit more of a sparkle, a little bit more sheen, maybe just a little bit more chunky, but it looks so freaking beautiful on the eyes. Like, this is my favorite type of eyeshadow. If I could only wear one eyeshadow for the rest of my life, this would be the kind of eyeshadow that I would reach for. Now, you are going to see in the swatches here that I do think that the opalescence hybrid shadows that are in this palette definitely go on better with a finger. Now, they do apply with a brush, don't get me wrong, but I would say it takes about 2 to 3 layers to get them to full opacity. So if you can use your finger with these guys, I would say go for it. If you don't want to, then they definitely still apply with a brush. It just takes a little bit more effort. Second to last in the palette, we have the shade Fighter, which is described as an intense deepened fuchsia metallic. This is such a buttery and pigmented metallic. All of their metallics are buttery and pigmented. It is insane. They are just so pleasant to stick your fingers into. That sounds freaking gross. I'm sorry. Now you're gonna see here that with the brush, this does go on a bit more sheer as well. I just feel like all of these metallic and foiled shadows that are in the LoveLuxe Beauty line are just applied the best with a finger. But if you need to, you can always place down a glitter glue to make them pop a little bit more as well. But with a finger, girl, you don't need glitter glue. The final eyeshadow in this palette to wrap everything up here is called Iconic, and this is described as a cool purple with a fuchsia undertone, and this is a metallic. Now, I know, it looks freaking navy blue in my camera. Trust me, in real life it is much more purple, but it still is kind of bordering on that navy blue indigo-y type of spectrum. It's just not as navy blue as it looks on camera. I don't know why it looks like that, okay? My camera settings are just all out of freaking whack, but nonetheless, this is a gorgeous eyeshadow. Same thing with the rest of the metallics here. They go on beautifully with a finger and with a brush. You can get there, it just needs a little bit more layering, but you know, as long as you can get there, that's all that matters, right? So here are some swatches. These are obviously concentrated swatches, but I just wanted to show off the true shine and pigmentation of these beautiful freaking eyeshadows. They're absolutely gorgeous. I love this palette so far. I've used it quite a few times, and I'm sure you can guess what kind of colors that I've used out of this palette. Now, I personally think that this color scheme is really interesting, and I think that I'm gonna get a whole heck of a lot of use out of this palette. I think if you've been eyeballing it, go for it. It is really good quality. These eyeshadows are clearly well made, and the colors are really interesting and inspired. Plus, y'all know that we absolutely love indie brands over here on my channel, and Love Luxe Beauty is one of my absolute favorites. If you have not tried them, I highly suggest it. But please do let me know in the comments if you have this palette, if you want to try it, if you want nothing to do with it. Let me know how you're feeling about it, and let me know how you think some of these swatches and how some of these shadows looked. But with that being said, if you were not already subscribed, please do consider subscribing and joining the family here. I would absolutely love it. And wherever you are, I hope that you are having an absolutely amazing freaking day. And I hope you're eating a lot of food and doing a lot of things that you enjoy. But thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come here and watch my video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!